Harry's wife. I'm brainwashed. An article by Victoria Ward in The Telegraph tells us, Duke of Sussex, Prince William thought therapy was brainwashing me. In his forthcoming memoir, Harry claims after months of seeking help, his brother could no longer recognise me, tolerate me. The Prince of Wales feared his brother was being brainwashed by his therapist, the Duke of Sussex claims in his memoir. This again is a further smearing of William, undoubtedly done so as a part of the awful shared fantasy between Harry and Harry's wife. And the fact that it may well be the case that the Prince of Wales feared that his brother was being brainwashed by a therapist, that can occur. And some ideas that therapists put into the mind of their clients or patients is troubling. Of course, what William had missed at the time was the fact that his brother is being brainwashed, not necessarily by his therapist, although that could be true, but by his wife, as I've explained in parts passing. Quite simply, what Harry's wife has done as part of her ensnarement of him is say to him, Harry, everything that you've known before is wrong. And he's chanted back, everything I've known before is wrong. Yeah. Harry, you hate the royal family. I hate the royal family. Yeah, okay. Harry, everything that you've been told is wrong. Everything I've been told is wrong. Yeah, got it. Thanks, Megsy. And basically what she has done has convinced him that the life that he had before, which, whilst not perfect, but as we can see from parts of Spare, he did very much have a good life in terms of the places that he went to, and particularly when he rolled his sleeves up and got stuck into things in Africa and Australia, that those things mattered to him and were important, and he enjoyed them. And that he did have a good relationship with his sister-in-law and his brother, and to an extent his father. Certainly better than he has now. And who's changed all of that? His wife. It's not the case that his dad suddenly behaved in a way that's awful towards him. He brought it on himself as a combination of what he's done with his wife. Ditto his brother, ditto his sister-in-law. He had decent relationships before, and indeed the revisionist history that's put forward in Spare is not necessarily to be relied upon. There is plenty of other evidence that shows that those relationships were good, and they've been tainted now through a revisionist lacquer applied by Harry's wife because she has to maintain that wedge between Harry and the rest of his family. Harry has been brainwashed by her. He has been brought into her world, and he's been told that everything that he understood beforehand, which largely wasn't a problem for him, is now a problem. That he was trapped. And it's actually now that his brother that remains trapped, although he doesn't see himself, of course, that he's completely trapped by his wife. The article continues. Prince Harry reveals that he was almost overcome by cannabis fumes, by emotion, as he gave a speech at the Wellchild Awards in October 2019. He choked up, he writes in his book Spare, and was briefly unable to speak. Prince William, who was on a royal tour of Pakistan at the time, texted him some time afterwards to express his concern, noting that he was clearly struggling and needing help. The Duke says he reminded his brother that he was doing therapy. In fact, not that long ago he'd asked if he could come with me to a session because he suspected that I was being brainwashed, he writes. Well, come, I had responded. I'm sure it'll be good for the both of us. He never came. His strategy was obvious. I wasn't well, which meant I wasn't in my right mind, and that's why I was behaving questionably, which is still continuing, of course. The Duke reveals he had to work hard to keep his text to his brother civil, but the conversation descended into a 3-day argument, all day and all night, the likes of which they had never previously endured. He claims that after months of therapy, his worst nightmare was coming to fruition, that they were becoming strangers. He could no longer recognize me, tolerate me, he writes. Harry admits that he saved all of the texts and still reads them sometimes with sadness and confusion, wondering, how did we ever get there? However, he reveals that towards the end of the row, Prince William wrote that he loved him and that they would do anything necessary to help him. He told me to never feel any other way, he says. The Duke has continued to be a strong advocate of therapy and thanks more than a dozen practitioners in the acknowledgements of his memoirs. They include John Amaral, a California-based energy practitioner. Yes, right. Who says he can help heal depression and post-traumatic stress. And Eric Goodman, the creator of Foundation Training, a yoga-like series of exercises designed to deal with chronic back pain. He also thanks a Pilates coach and an acupuncturist who specialise in helping women struggling with fertility problems and pregnancy. Didn't realise you were a woman, Harry, and that you were having fertility problems and dealing with pregnancy. You learn something every day, I guess. However, he opted not to name the UK-based therapist whom he credits with helping unravel years of unresolved trauma. But it's clear he's paying lip service to that because he hasn't resolved the trauma. The trauma is writ large through his book in relation to his mother and, of course, the fact that he suffers the trauma of the ensnarement by his wife, but he doesn't see it. What do people's observations below the line tell us? Andrew Marshall, everything so far Harold has said about his brother has moved our future king up in my estimation. Alistair Pearce, the Prince of Wales feared his brother was being brainwashed by his therapist. Seems like the Prince of Wales was spot on to me. Patricia Clausen-Thew, the Prince of Wales is right. Harry has been brainwashed. This therapy has turned a pleasant, well-meaning man into a whining misery who scowls all the time, is filled with self-pity and hostility, who mouths psychobabble, and then wonders why his brother can no longer tolerate him. Neither can most of us. Darren Hawkins, and William is absolutely right. The therapy clearly has not worked. He is still an angry, self-entitled brat who takes no responsibility or ownership of his actions. Catherine Heaton, there is no ethics in any therapy that reduces you to a vindictive shell of a person who proactively interprets everything negatively. John Frost, William is coming out of this very, very well. Anthony Thomas, obviously he has been brainwashed, but not by as many therapists. I think the person is much nearer home. The Prince of Wales goes up in my estimation every time a new section comes out from The Village Idiot. Andrew Marshall, William is right again. Ruth Gager, Prince William was right. Marion Henderson, respect for William is climbing exponentially. William obviously has his head screwed on. Lisa Johnson, saved all the tech, say, blackmail on top of everything else. The irony is that every attack upon William simply leads normal people to think better of him. Leslie Cheeseman, well, Harry, what have you done? A fatwa. Not only going for you and your California family, but every member of your family in England. G. Mitchell, I'm not sure Harry can be believed, though. He spouts lies all the time, calling them his truth, a cop-out, as useful. Perhaps, as usual, perhaps he was trying to make himself look like some kind of hero figure, not just a cowering wimp, well and truly under the wifey's thumb. The fact is that he might have been brainwashed by the therapist. It hasn't done him any good, because it hasn't resolved his trauma vis-a-vis his mother, and it certainly hasn't helped him in explaining to him that he's in the grip of a narcissist, which is patently clear, and any decent therapist, even if they didn't recognise that she's a narcissist, would recognise that the dynamic is not a healthy one for him, and would see the way that it impacts upon him. Harry has indeed been brainwashed. He's been brainwashed by his wife to believe that everybody else is wrong apart from the two of them, and that she has his best interests at heart, when it's very clear that she has not. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.